we are going to discuss groundwater and various techniques to harvest rainwater for urban and rural areas. The importance of groundwater is known to all of us. We know that groundwater is most dependable source of water supply for our needs, may it be domestic, drinking purpose, or irrigation. In lean monsoon years, when there is less runoff, less rainfall, and therefore less runoff, we have to resort to groundwater. For the past so many years, we have exploited uninterruptedly groundwater, which has created an alarming situation in many parts. Therefore, rainwater harvesting is the need of the hour. And today, we are going to have discussion on various techniques for urban and rural areas. First of all, what is rainwater harvesting? The simplest definition of rainwater harvesting is conscious collection and storage of rainwater. It is a process of artificially enhancing rate of recharge at an exceeding rate, natural rate of recharge by putting proper structures. That is, when runoff is there, we will have to put proper structures which can collect and store rainwater. Water will be allowed for some more time to percolate in the aquifer ground below. And this is the simplest definition of rainwater harvesting, we can say. Now, coming to the objectives, why to harvest rainwater? To name a few, as such, rainwater harvesting has so many objectives. To name a few, to conserve surface water runoff during monsoon and to augment groundwater table. We know day by day water tables are depleting, and we will have to recharge groundwater to augment and replenish our groundwater tables. Rise in groundwater table will affect dilution of salts in the soil, and as a result, groundwater quality will also improve. The another factor, rise of groundwater table will save energy in lifting water. As per the studies, 1 meter rise in water levels saves 0.4 kWh of energy. This will not only minimize the consumption of energy, but it has economic benefits also. Less power will be used, and hence beneficial economically also. The rainwater harvested will reduce soil erosion because many techniques are such that soil erosion or soil conservation and water conservation go hand in hand. Particularly in coastal areas, when we adopt rainwater harvesting, in the coastal belt, seawater ingress will be arrested due to rise in water table. That will improve the quality and quantity of the water stored in aquifers down below. If we talk about urban areas, when there is a heavy downpour in the cities, the roads are flooded. Even when stormwater drains are provided, but due to its limited capacity, flooding takes place on the roads. Sometimes stormwater drains are choked and even flooding of roads happens. If we go for rainwater harvesting, this can be arrested. We can decrease choking of rainwater drones and flooding of roads also. Moreover, in the scenario that day by day water tables are depleting, it is a need of the hour to create a culture of water conservation amongst us. And therefore, rainwater harvesting is day by day becoming more and more important. Here is a table which which enumerates different techniques for urban area as well as rural area. Particularly for rural areas, if we talk about various techniques, the water available in ponds, lakes, rivers, rivulets, etc. is comparatively large, which is to be recharged. As well as the space available for recharge is also large. And therefore, mainly these techniques are surface spreading techniques. For rural areas, we know watershed is considered as a unit for adopting recharge techniques. Watershed is a unit. If we plan and if we coordinate various types of structures in a particular watershed, then it will give the best results in that particular area. And therefore, we should not plan in piecemeal, but there should be a holistic overall planning for the watershed as a unit. The techniques for rural areas are mainly water harvesting as well as prevention of soil erosion. Gully plug is the low cost, simplest technique available and which is widely used in watershed. Gully plugs are built along hilly slopes on small streams. We all know that. Locally used stones, clay, etc. can be used with the help of villagers surrounding area, and that will help in soil conservation as well as water conservation. When some storage structure is created, it will help arresting it will lower down the speed of flowing water that will minimize soil erosion. Water will be having a retarded velocity, therefore it will have more time to percolate, and that will ensure more soil conservation as well as water conservation in the surrounding area. Soil erosion will be prevented. It will conserve soil moisture. That will help in growing more vegetation in the surrounding area. The grown vegetation will again help in arresting the velocities of the flowing water, and in the cyclic way, this will help in more and more soil conservation as well as water conservation. Another tool for watershed treatment is contour bend. It's a proven and sustainable technique. We are using it for the years together. Here also, soil conservation promotes water retention. Contour bends are suitable in low rainfall areas on the sloping grounds. The slope of the ground having around 2 to 5%. These contour bends can be created. You will have to construct a contour bend all along the contour of the equal elevation, and thus flowing water will be intercepted before it attains erosive velocity. This is a very effective method to conserve soil moisture in the watershed for a longer duration. Spacing between the two bunds depends on the slope of the area as well as permeability of the soil. This is also an effective tool for watershed development and a very effective method for rainwater harvesting in rural areas. Then comes the check dam. Check dam are the most commonly used structures for rainwater harvesting in rural areas. Check dams can be constructed on streams, medium size or minor rivers also, but not on major rivers. Streams having gentle slopes are more suitable for construction of check dams. There should be sufficient thickness of permeable bed, then optimum water can be conserved down below. The length of the check dam should be such that water is confined within the bank of the stream. Normally, in general, 1.5 to 2 meter height check dam are constructed, whether it may be masonry or concrete. Dams are generally constructed in a height of 1.5 to 2 meter. The slope of the stream will allow the water to be stored behind the wall of check dam, and it will give a good amount of water storage behind the check dam, which will percolate down below the permeable bed. And it's a very handy and prevalent technology for rainwater harvesting adopted in our state and as well as in our country. Only one important thing is there: downstream water cushion chamber is required to prevent scouring of the check dam. A need to be vigilant about that is downstream water cushion chamber should be provided to prevent scouring of the check tank. Next important technique is percolation tank. These tanks are constructed on highly fractured and weathered rocks, where lateral continuity downstream the structure is there with number of wells. That means when you have a site having fractured and weathered rocks and it has a continuity with the number of wells downstream, then it is a more suitable site for construction of percolation tank. It's a water body created, artificial water body created by submerging highly permeable land, whether it may be a fractured rock or it may be a soil also, but it should be permeable.
Excuse me, is it possible to have better focus?
Pardon?
Is it possible to have better focus?
Focus. It is not focused.
PowerPoint present. It's a PowerPoint present.
That is seen. Pictures you see in pictures.
Is it okay now?
But grain size increases, I think. That is why readability goes down. The grain size increases as you project it. The grain size.
Those letters are big.
That's what I'm trying to.
Figures. Acha, acha.
That is right.
Because as you come nearer, it will be readable by time.
देखो भाई.
Rather, we increase the.
Resolution is less.
But hangout is on. Hangout is on. पीछे का आपका so.
Good, Mr.
It's okay, I think.
Converter लगा.
Normally, the storage capacity of percolation tank is about 0.1 to 0.5 million cubic meter. They are designed to provide water column of about height 3 to 4.5 meter. It is a structure having earthen flanks with masonry spillway. For percolation tanks, no outlets are provided because the primary function of this structure is not to provide water directly, but we want all the water to percolate which has accumulated there in the structure. The next technique is recharge shaft. This is also a very widely used and adopted technique for rainwater harvesting, because that can be used in village tanks. We know that in rainy season, tanks are filled up with water, but after some time, that water evaporates, and again we are feeling shortage of water. If we construct recharge shaft in the bed of the tank, this water can be recharged to groundwater. The recharge shafts are normally constructed having a diameter 0.5 to 3 meter and depth 10 to 15 meter. The important thing in this technique is the top of shaft is to be kept half of the full supply depth of the tank. When water is filled up in the tank, some sort of silting will also be there. For some depth of the tank, silting will take place, and therefore the top of the recharge shaft should be well above this depth, so that silted water may not enter in the aquifer. Moreover, the shaft is filled with filter material like gravels, boulders, and coarse sand. And as we all know, it should end in more permeable strata below the top impermeable strata. Because the tank is there, naturally the top strata will be less permeable, and you are supposed to take water to the more permeable strata, and then only recharge can take place. This is the most cost-effective and efficient technique to recharge the unconfined aquifers. Dug well recharge is also a very commonly used technique. See, we know that dug wells are having shallow depth, and they are normally constructed where water is available at a relatively shallow depth, but they are constructed in rocky formations. What happens is, in the monsoon, water level in the dug well rises, but after some time it will again go down as the water is used. But as the rocky strata is having less capacity to retain the water, and therefore this technique is used for existing and abandoned dug wells as recharge structure. Water is guided from the farm, as we can see in the figure. Water is guided through a pipe to the desilting chamber. The desilting chamber will consist of filter media of coarse sand and gravel. After passing through this filter media, silt-free water will have to be allowed to pass in the well, and which it will raise the water level in the well. Periodic chlorination can be done for controlling the bacteriological contaminations. Another important and widely used technique is subsurface dike, that is underground check dam. This is a subsurface barrier across the stream, having a wide width but shallow impervious layer. When water level in the upstream part of the groundwater rises, saturating the dry part of the aquifer, here also a barrier is constructed down below the ground level. The water, due to this barrier, percolates down below in the aquifer. So in the upstream of the barrier, there is an accumulation of the water. For constructing dike, a trench of 1 to 2 meter wide is dug across the breadth of the stream down to impermeable bed. This trench is required to be filled with either concrete or brick wall up to 0.5 meter below the ground level. We can also use PVC sheets to cover the cutout dike faces. The peculiarity of this structure is that submergence of land is avoided as the water is stored within the aquifer below ground level. And therefore, even no evaporation losses are taking place. Moreover, potential disaster of collapse of the dam is also avoided in this technique. So, now if we go for the urban areas techniques. In urban areas, we all know that space for storage, collection, and recharge is less compared to the rural areas. Here, the space is also less and the quantum is also comparatively small compared to rural areas. And therefore, the collection and recharge system needs to be designed in such a way that it does not occupy large space. Normally, for urban areas, water available for recharge is from rooftop of the buildings, paved and unpaved open areas from where water will have to be tapped for recharge. And this water is naturally, quantum of water is comparatively very small. There are mainly 3-4 techniques. One is recharge pit, another is recharge trench, and the third is tube wells. The basic principle involved in all the 3 techniques is that you are collecting water from a source. It may be a rooftop or open areas. You are collecting water, allow it to pass through a desilting chamber by providing a filter media, and the desilted water is allowed to be stored in the aquifer or through a tube well in the layers down below. Recharge pit technique is useful for shallow aquifers. In alluvial areas where permeable rocks are at shallow depth, this technique is used. Recharge pits 1 to 2 meter wide and 2 to 3 meter depth are generally constructed. They are filled with filter media, that is boulders at the bottom, gravel in between, and the top layer is coarse sand. When buildings are having small roof area of 100 square meters or less, this type of technique can be adopted. The water collected at the roof is conveyed by a pipe to the recharge pit, and ultimately it will filter down in the aquifer lying below. The important thing is that first shower water is to be omitted. It should not be allowed to pass through this recharge pit, and for that a mesh is provided at the roof to avoid leaves, debris, etc. And there is a bypass arrangement to be provided to reject the water of first showers. Collection or desilting chamber is aimed to provide arrest finer particles, otherwise it will choke up the recharge pit. And moreover, to maintain recharge rate, top layer of the sand is to be periodically cleaned, maybe at about 2 to 3 years. Every 2 to 3 years we will have to replace the coarse sand layer to maintain the efficiency of infiltration down below. The same technology is there with recharge trench. Only thing is, this technique can be useful for roof area having 200 to 300 square meters. The subsurface or the aquifer's depth should be shallow. Here, a trench. Earlier one there was a pit. Now around structure, a trench is to be excavated, and it is to be backfilled with the filter media, same type of filter media, and it will function in the same way. Bypass arrangement is also required to be provided in the same manner as the earlier one. For these also, top sand layer is also required to be periodically cleaned. As I said, after every 2 to 3 years, this top sand layer will have to be replaced to maintain the rate of infiltration. Then, where tube wells are there and they are not tapping shallow aquifers, but they are tapping deeper aquifers, those tube wells can be also used as rainwater harvesting structures. In this case, PVC pipes connected to roof are again collected in a chamber, desilting chamber. This chamber is also having 3 types of compartments and having a filter media. The first chamber is filled with gravels, another one pebbles, and the last one is bigger stones, 20 to 40 mm size. And the desilted clean water will be allowed to pass through the tube well, which will convey the water to the lower stratas. There is a technique for recharging defunct tube borewell also. For that, first of all, the defunct borewell will have to be tested for its suitability. A simple thumb rule type test is that if borewell accepts water poured in it at a constant rate from a tanker of 5,000 to 6,000 liter capacity, if it accepts water poured at a constant rate, then recharging that borewell will be feasible. But if it overflows, it may not be suitable for recharge. Around that borewell, a pit of 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet is to be excavated. PVC casing pipe with vertical slits of 50 mm by 2 mm is to be provided up to a height of 6 feet from the bottom of pipe. For the purpose of giving fixity to the pipe, a cement concrete bed is provided at the pipe bottom. Even a clamp can also be provided. Big boulders are filled around the pipe up to 6 feet height in the pit. The next layer of small size stones will be there for 1 feet height. And on that, if borewell is there for the drinking purpose, 1 feet layer of wood charcoal can be provided to avoid microbacterial contaminants entering the well. On this layer, HDP mesh and 1 feet thick layer of coarse sand to stop leaves, silt, etc. entering and choking the filter media will have to be provided. This will help to ensure that silted water is not passing through that and clean water will be recharged. A wall of small height is built around this pit so that the surrounding soil will not collapse into the structure. Moreover, that will help the water to remain on the sand bed for a longer time before percolating into well. The water in the surrounding area is diverted and through filter layers and PVC pipe, it reaches the borewell and thus the recharge takes place. Here also, top sand layer is required to be replaced every 2 to 3 years to maintain percolation efficiency. This is the table. Sorry. This is the table which gives an idea of how much quantum of water can be stored by various type of recharge structures. If you are constructing a percolation tank with recharge shaft, per year about 4.04 MCM of water can be recharged. Check dams, a check dam, I'm talking about a check dam of small height and average length, and that will store a water of 0.03 million cubic meter per year. Recharge wells up to 200 meter depth can give recharge quantum of 0.02 million cubic meter per year. And duct wells are having, of course, very less capacity, of recharge 0.001 million cubic meter per year, as they are having very small diameters and having small depth. So this is the, I mean, various techniques available for rural and urban areas for the water harvesting. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Has that analysis been made